So hello, today we're actually going to just be talking about how you have a whole bunch of people who are trying to control women and the leaked documents from the Supreme Court talking about how they will possibly be overturning Roe versus Wade. So first off, for people who may not know what Roe versus Wade is, I will be putting it up on the screen somewhere, more than likely over here somewhere, but I will read it as well. And it says Roe versus Wade was a landmark decision of the U.S. Supreme Court in which the court ruled that the Constitution of the United States protects a pregnant woman's liberty to choose to have an abortion without excessive government restriction. The decision struck down many U.S. federal and state abortion laws. So it's pretty much exactly what I just said. Okay, so the Supreme Court right now is thinking about overturning, and I mean, they drafted up, and I read it, it's about, I think it's like 32 pages or something like that. They drafted up, their document and whatnot. And it, from the language, that's pretty much what they're thinking about doing. Okay, people scream, always conservatives, conservatives, conservatives. They're the problem. Da 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 da. I have my thoughts and opinions on that, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So this is a huge problem, and I also want to talk about an Ohio lawmaker who actually, she said some crazy things, in reference to rape and about abortions and whatnot, and she was completely against it. So my whole thing about this, Roe versus Wade, so you have this whole thing where you have governments and any other random Joe out there who are trying to control women any chance that they can get. Okay, so you're saying if a woman got raped or just unwanted it doesn't even have to be anything violent. Okay, and I noticed that a lot of the times people like to just put in, oh well, what if she got raped and assaulted? Well, or maybe she just got pregnant and she doesn't want to have the baby. Okay, that's perfectly fine. Okay, all right. So my thing is like this: people are saying, okay, well, if the person gets raped, the woman now has to have the baby. We care about the unborn kid. We want to make sure that this unborn child is perfectly fine, healthy. We want to make sure that this kid can grow up and be something and contribute to society. And you're committing murder by doing this, right? One, if the mom's not there, the baby doesn't live. As simple as that, all right? As we know. So you're saying something this small deserves, in your opinion, should not be aborted or whatever the case may be. All right. So it's this constant control over women, over anything that we do. I mean, abortion, definitely. But with everything else, it's like, oh, well, you shouldn't wear this. Oh, well, you shouldn't do this. Well, you shouldn't do this. And now it's like, okay, well, if you get pregnant, even though men could have sex with tons of women, they can have sex with 20 women and impregnate them all every single day. But the control is always on the female. And now you're saying, oh well, if you got pregnant, then you can't get this thing aborted. You have to go through it. And this goes into what I was talking about. And I'm gonna put a picture up on here. And it says it's an Ohio lawmaker who said that rape was an opportunity. Okay, so essentially what she said was, so she was presented with this whole scenario. It was about a 13-year-old girl, and was like, okay, let's say she was raped. What's your response? What do you think? So I'm actually going to read what she said. All right, and it's Republican State Representative Jean Schmidt. Okay, or Schmidt. All right, and it said, well, she said, it is a shame that it happens, in reference to the scenario I just gave, the 13-year-old girl who gets raped. It is a shame that it happens, but there's an opportunity for that woman, no matter how young or old she is, to make a determination about what she's going to do to help that life be a productive human being. Okay? So what she's saying is this: I don't care if you get raped. I don't care if it was an incest thing, maybe your brother, your dad raped you. I don't care if it was an unwanted pregnancy, any reason you may have that you could get in the cookie jar and dig out. I'm not going to take a bite of it. I don't care. I don't care at all. That's what she's saying. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are, You're pregnant now. I don't care if the guy was 25 years old and you're 13. You're pregnant now. This is your responsibility and solely your responsibility. You have to now take care of this kid. Well, I don't want the kid. Doesn't matter. You're now going to have to take care of this kid. And we only care once, as this kid is in your stomach. Once this kid comes out, no, we don't care. All right. And that brings me to this whole thing that we have with this pro-choice, pro-life crap that we have, all right? There's really like two types of people, really, okay? You got some people that be like, I just don't care, you know? But there's really two types of people, the pro-choicers and the pro-lifers. The pro-lifers are the ones that are like, you know, hey, you got a kid, you got pregnant, you know, it's your body, but I want to have control over it. I want to have control over what, you know, whether or not you can keep the kid, or, you know, how you're going to go about doing whatever you do, right? I want you to have the kid no matter what, all right? That's what these pro-life people are saying. We want this baby to be born. Now, once the kid's born, I could give two, you know, pretty much I could give two shits about you at that point, you know. I just want the baby to be born because it's an innocent life and the baby needs to be born. But once they're born, I'm not going to have any deductions taken out. I'm not going to adopt your kid. I'm not going to pay for child support. I'm not going to pay for diapers. I'm not going to pay for this. I'm not going to pay for that. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. But I want you to have your kid, but I don't want any parts of it after that, which is crazy. Ooh, how can you even have an opinion on somebody else's, you know, situation, and it doesn't even affect you in any way, shape, or form? It's not your body, you know? So, and I'm like this. Cool. You have an opinion, keep it to yourself. You know what I mean? You know, this is a natural born woman who had it, who got pregnant, or female just in general, okay? Because, you know, you're 13 years old in this scenario that, you know, the Ohio lawmaker had, you know, something like that. You can't really be, you can't give consent. Not really. You cannot give consent. You know what I mean? So that is rape. All right. And you're saying, I don't care what happened. You need to have this kid. That's insanity. All right. But then you got the pro-choicers who, you know, like myself, it's your body. Do what you want to do. You know what I mean? Anyone can have an opinion about something, but in terms of this, women's reproductive health, women, you know, abortions, whatever the case may be, you don't have any say-so in this, all right? Sorry to break it to you, my friend, but you have no say-so. If she wants to have the kid, she can have the kid. If she does not want to have the kid, she doesn't have to have the kid. You have nothing to do with this unless you're going to be paying for her mortgage or rent. You're going to be paying for the food. You're going to be paying for babysitting. You're going to be paying, you know, for gas. You're going to be paying just for time to spend with the kid. I mean, unless you're going to be doing any of that, you really have no opinion, really. Nothing that anyone else needs to hear. Nothing that needs to be going into law to make it so that, you know, you can't even get an abortion. Because what I think is going to happen is eventually this is going to turn into something where people are doing those back alley, you know, come to my apartment, you know, at, you know, 10 p.m. at night so I could give you an abortion. You know what I mean? Which you may not be in the most sanitary area. It may not be the safest thing just in general in terms of skill, because the doctors, they don't want to touch you. Not because they're like, oh, I don't do that. It's because they could go to jail. I mean, we've already seen in Texas where they're over here trying to lock doctors up. One lady, you know, she was in the scenario that they gave, or situation they gave, it was like a lady who they don't know if she was giving or getting the abortion, but either way, she was getting arrested for murder, is what they were saying, you know, which is insane. That is insanity. Okay. You know, so it's this whole thing that I think is just going to turn into people getting unsafe practices like what they used to do. Unsafe practices. You know, they may end up dying. You know, you may have possible suicide coming from that because the person is being forced to do something that they really don't want to do at all. You know what I mean? If they said that they don't want it and you're like, well, you got to have a kid though. You have to have your kid. You have to have it. And you're like, well, I don't want this kid. Well, it doesn't matter. You have to have the kid. You have to have it. Okay? Okay, well, What if I, commit self-harm because I don't want it? Or you have the kid and then you put the kid into foster care. You have the kid, and then as we've seen, if you are that kind of person, you dump the kid in a dumpster somewhere. You know what I mean? You give them out to foster care. And do we really need more people in there when this could have just been prevented because she did not want this to happen? She wanted this to be prevented. And I find it interesting that, people are just so adamant on saying, oh, well, you can't get an abortion. Oh, you can't do this. You can't do that. Can't do that. Well, why not throw around vasectomies? I did a little bit of research today, okay? If you got the hysterectomy and you got the vasectomy. The hysterectomy is more invasive. There's a lot more chances for something bad to happen. A lot more side effects as well, okay? And I don't know if I said it, but a lot more expensive. It costs way more than the other thing, okay? I see numbers. They said in certain states it may be up to like 600% more than what you would have for a vasectomy, which, the healing time is way shorter. It's not invasive, or less invasive. It is reversible if it is something that you want to do. And in terms of that, that's just the only thing that is birth control. That's it. Men are not getting vasectomies for any other reason, as opposed to a hysterectomy where there may be some more serious things that are going on, and it's not just like, birth control for you, and it's much cheaper to do it. So wouldn't it make sense for you guys to just say, well, a guy, he should be getting a vasectomy then, right? Well, the guy should be on a male birth control, which I did a video about that. That's a thing, okay? It's not for humans yet, but from what I did, that one's not for humans just yet, but it's in the works, okay? So why wouldn't you guys just say, okay, well, we need to fund these male birth control pills and the shots and the patches and, whatever. We need to fund these so we could get these going, all right? And we could leave the women alone, okay? But let's get the men, because the men are the ones who can impregnate a woman every single day. A woman can't get pregnant more than one time in one sitting, you know what I mean? So why don't we put more pressure on them? The whole thing is because we live in this patriarchal kind of society that it breeds this whole thing of we have to control women, we have to shame women, we have to put all the pressure on women. When you have the guy who is the one that really should be, I guess, now I don't want to use the word control, but they should be the one that should have a little bit more responsibility, considering the fact that they are the one that impregnates the woman. You know what I mean? So those are my thoughts and opinions on it. I do want to know what you guys think about this, and like in terms of where do you think we're going to be going? Do you think that people will be doing the back alley stuff? Do you think that maybe possible self-harm will start rising because women have no choice if this happens, either have a kid or, not, and then you may be depressed? I want to know what your guys' thoughts and opinions are on this subject and on this topic. Do you know anyone that may, be affected by this in any, way that maybe they're like, okay, I don't want any kids, and if this happens, I want to know what your opinions and thoughts are on this. And until then.